to be able to earn the Top Elite Military Badge Award. You see, the military can make this interesting for the public to watch on TV and follow their desired country's progression as they climb or fall in position to try to achieve top honor within the world. All the militaries around the world will have like a mirror print of availability of the most sophisticated equipment in the world. As time goes on in the world, so will the advancement of our military, where it will always have the latest technology available in training and of stockpiles. Only the 14 elite militaries in the world that I pick will be amongst the ranks to operate these bases in the future. The soldiers from around the world can choose an occupation to serve for lifetime in the military at one location and are able to travel around the world to do their exercises. Enlistments will be either 3.5 years or 7-year commitments when serving in any of the two military forces for the people. Disciplinary structure of the service will be restructured to provide rights throughout the ranks as equals per level of authority. There will be people that are incapable of achieving physical and test standards for said job or don't meet the standards of weight that will be required to achieve while serving. Other people from the countries that are not part of the 14 selected countries can decide to support whichever military force in the world. You see, all forces will be American. And it truly don't matter what country you join, because they all stand for freedom. There will be a stockpile of excess military equipment between the 14 military locations around the world. Even enough equipment to power 6 times the active military force, if ever needed, to protect the planet from unknown alien activity in the future. All people that are in the United World Forces must be able to read, write, and speak English due to the fact that all military schooling and equipment manuals and testing will be in English. Each of the elite 14 countries to be selected in the future will be able to choose whatever they wish for talents or special abilities of schooling for each country's choice of selection to make up their military. All individuals will have to sign a 3.5 or 7-year contract. The ranking system in the military for an officer or an enlisted side will be set up accordingly with set ranks, rate per rank, with the revolving percentage rate added of 0.02 059 59100 and fair pay as you climb the ranks. After the age of 58, you will be able to retire with an adequate pension to get paid out for life. As an incentive, I will say, whichever military country that takes the Top Elite Military Force Badge award each year will get compensated 20% of their current grade of pay for the year, and the percentage granted for the years in service allotted pay when receiving the award. This will be entitled to everyone that participate in receiving top honor to be recognized and paid out in a lump sum for his or her achievement. Wow! You made the military a game, and you can get paid greatly to receive top honor in the military in the world. I'll be looking forward to following the military on TV. What about people who die in training or on active duty? If someone happens to die during the time of training, time of active duty while enlisted in a humanitarian service for the government, whether it's active duty or world forces to assemble, assimilated warfare, or troops assigned for humanitarian duties for the people, they will, at that time of their death, have their current pay grade and the time starting from the day of death, total amount of time to be worked from that said person till the age of 58, which all military troops will be paid out as salary. The surviving member or members of the deceased will get the retirement and all paid wages for the entitled to be given to the surviving dependents. This means all the years were left for working will be given as in a cash amount for the retirement age of 58, with 30% amount to be paid in for retirement pension for it to be allotted the surviving person or persons that will receive the money until they perish off of this earth. If, for say, a person has 5 kids and one that was supporting world peace dies, the person's 5 kids may get divided evenly for the money and pension be paid out until they all have perished. Only the set divided amount will be offered to each surviving dependent at the time of death of the loved ones, where it will not change. There will be an exception on retirement age if someone dies before, where their surviving dependent will receive a pension before the age of 38 years of age. At the time when you enter your job information slip into the ACE Services system, you'll be asked questions in relation to who you would like to leave your inheritance to after death. Disabilities will be paid out after medical conditions that are to award a percentage for a severity of a handicap or a disabled person. Once the person settles for disability, they are no longer authorized to hold a job in the military service. You will be able to work in the service with a disability as long as it doesn't interfere with performing your job. Retirement age of 58, if you have obtained any medical illnesses, disabilities can be addressed at that time of departure of service to receive disability pension for life on top of your pension. Anyone serving in the military, their family or directions by written will not be subject to pay 33% estate tax to the government from one that inherits the death money from the government of the deceased. There will be as many as 210,000 troops in 80 different locations near the large cities for humanitarian reasons, if any shall come up, to look out for the people. What if the nation chooses not to join your new world policy? Are you going to blow them up? No, I don't need to. You see, under the new world government, all people will be registered into one database that participates, and all who are registered into the database will get paid the cost of living by county or district that they live in. And if the country chooses not to participate, that means nobody in that country will receive the cost of living. Their economy will end up failing without the support of the other nations until they accept to the terms. But remember, the world has to be united by January 24th, 2027. Why does that date, January 24, 2027, matter? All I know are the numbers I figured out in the Bible equal to this date. What I understand according to the universal test, what I've been placed with, what I read in the Bible could come about would be 3 waves of asteroids, taking out 2/3 of the population here on Earth. That's why it's so critical by that day. That's the way you put it, sort of scares me. You don't know what the other countries are thinking of or want to do. They could destroy the world, you're saying. It takes the people to come together to make this happen for God's plan. If we all believe, then there will be no worries. You speak of how everyone will get paid. How are they going to get paid? Where are you going to get the money from? Digitally, there will be an unlimited amount of cash that would take care of the needs of the people or what needs to come about. For instance, like streets, government buildings, facilities, healthcare, education, retirement plans, payment to each person's cost of living on Earth that is registered with ACE Services. Understand, it will be a very, very large number. But there will be money coming in, like with people receiving inheritance, property assessment dues, retirement plans for companies, and paying out for the proceeds off of selling drugs like marijuana, cocaine, officers of the law writing tickets. You're talking about making money off of drugs as a government. I could maybe see marijuana, but cocaine, isn't that a little bit extreme? Not really. You see, everybody is in the same database with an authorization, authorizing a rations card to each person within the system. It works the same way when you want to buy some marijuana or cocaine. Maybe let's say for marijuana, they can receive a half ounce once a week. Each individual in the world would have the access to pull from the bank that sells marijuana or cocaine. It's just that it'll be restricted to buy only a half ounce per week per person from the database, which will be regulated. There will be 3 rates of quality. For instance, if THC level is below 20%, then from 20 to 25%, and then 25 and above. THC will be a different price, like $25, $35, and $45 for a quarter ounce of marijuana. Now, it will be opened up to so many dispensaries per county or district, locations authorizing it through ACE Services office. This will allow the public to get involved if they like to be a grower, a supplier, a merchandiser. There has to be a full detailed plan presented to ACE Services office of the location and contact suppliers and the amount of product that you will be able to supply on a daily basis in order to operate at said establishment. Only authorized growers and sellers have got to be registered through ACE Services office. Realize the public will be buying the quarter ounce 7 grams of marijuana shake or flower for $25, $35, or $45. But the establishment will have to subtract 33% cost of the sale to go to the government. So they have to purchase it for less than 16, 23, and 30 on a quarter ounce, because this is what they would receive for providing the shop for it to be sold at. Realize your gummies, vapes, lotions, CBD products, butter, resins, and other THC products will have to be regulated by ration so much per week or month to be offered to the public. For instance, another example would be for cocaine to only receive 9 grams a month. A gram would be priced at $50, and an 8 ball of 3.5 grams would sell for $150. 33% would have to come off of each sale where the product will have to be produced with a lesser profit margin. Each person would not be able to buy more than 9 grams a month for his or her account. Of course, there will be or have to be some testing for level of potency for the cocaine to be distributed. Maybe it might be cut 50-50 with something else. It would be really hyped up cough medicine, for example, but still legal to use. The government will monitor the usage and quality of cocaine through the people, but no other drugs will be acceptable through the government. For instance, it would be illegal to have crystal meth, heroin, LSD, acid, or any other illicit type drugs. Okay, I can possibly see the drugs work, but won't the economy get overinflated with having unlimited amount of access to pull money from? You see, there will be like a tariff put on basically 5 major categories. There are rental properties, new autos, insurance, utilities, and food. They will not be able to fluctuate more than 10% per year on their prices. They will be governed and controlled by the District of Ace Service Office and Ace of Diamonds. There will be one delegated people to watch out for the prices within the economy, working in the ACE services, ACE department from every county or district. There will be 5 representatives to look out for the pricing to uphold the law. This will be 1 person per every 50,000 people in the county or district. People who have rental properties will not be able to raise their rent more than 10% per year for the renter and not more than 30% in 10 years. The same applies for all the markets of the establishment to the world, where it will fall into the basic 10% rule, where you may be okay for 3 years. Then the government will control your pricing, and you may be subject to fines that you may not like. Like for Giants, where we will use Amazon for an example, where they control whatever they choose to swindle money from. Like, for instance, the book market. An author may get 75 cents a book, but Amazon can sell that book and make $4 to $5 on that book of the author, which is not right. In the New World Order, Amazon will only be able to make, and this goes for all advertising market agencies, subscriptions, and wireless services out there in the world, no more than 10% cost from selling the product or service that is at hand, or marketing item or service to be sold. And for all authors out there in the world, you will be able to charge up to 33% of what the book costs to print. So if a book costs $8 to make, you can charge $10.64 for the book, making $2.64 per book, and Amazon can sell your book for $11.70 with a profit of $1.06. All products being manufactured can charge up to 33% above the cost of the cost of producing the product. Our construction can go by the rule of thumb of saying double the material expense for the cost of labor to perform the construction, not to exceed 200% unless it accepted bid. All financial, banking, or credit card services in the world will have to abide by the standard provided in the New World Order that no home or property loan can be authorized to charge more than 7% interest for rate and a credit score of a 530. And if your credit score is above 600 of any credit site, you will not be required to pay more than 5% on a home property loan, or 2% cheaper depending on the average interest rate. And if the score is less than 530, no institution has to give you a loan till you're at 530 or above on your credit score. Credit cards or personal loans cannot exceed more than 12% of the annual percentage rate. Having a credit card at more than 28% is plain greed and evil in my eyes, and should not be accepted in the New World Order. To qualify for these loans, your credit score can be as low as 500, and anything less, lending agencies do not have to lend. At 600, the credit score, you will qualify for 8% annual percentage rate. Also, any score higher than 650 will be granted 5% or less annual percentage rate for the personal or credit loans. Realize, before the lending agencies of the world would have to try to collect a debt that was lent out in the boxes that are located in every post office of proof of 6 missing payments in a row or 8 missed payments in a year, the justifiers will set up a judgment against whatever individual falls into this category. There will be a 25% allotment amount of the entitlement to be paid or garnished from the delinquent individual until said debt is paid in full. It should also be noted that the loan administration paperwork will not exceed more than 5 pages of documentations that is needed to be signed. Just because you put this judgment on the individual doesn't mean this will automatically come out of the individual's money. Only the earned money of the individual, if they hold a job at the time that they receive their first pension at the age of 38, is where they would then be paying off whatever debt for judgment that was placed against them. This will happen through the Ace of Spades department as one of the justifier duties to assess the publican of rights and justice. If the person doesn't work a job and there is no other income coming in for the said individual besides the cost of living allowance, the lending institution shouldn't lend, because it may never get their money back if the individual chooses not to work in life. If you control those prices and the categories I list for the economy, it won't matter if the economy is overflated with money. It sounds like a lot of socialism with dictatorship. Is that how this new world order is going to be? A controlling order? Well, if you look at socialism, there will not be what you call socialism in the new world order. The government is not taking money from the rich given to the poor. Everybody receives money from the government. There will be no one who feels left out in the world feels left out, and the world will have to be united as one for peace to prevail. As far as having a person in charge of the new world order, there will not be one directly taking orders or giving orders for laws. There will be a member voted in every 7 years that would come from the royal family of mine for the World Council to be in charge of. Not, you say your royal family will hold this spot? Yes, preferably my future generations of my family. If there ever shall be a situation where I consider the royal family of my family chooses not to run for the seat to hold the 151st vote on the World Council to make decisions on all tie votes across the world, it would be opened up to the public for office for said election. The sole purpose of the one in charge of the World Council duties are to assure proper actions for all laws are taken into consideration on all aspects of the people's concern. Also, with the cabinet to vote on the necessity to allow greatness for the people. The one that is elected from the royal family to hold this position, his or her duties will include to make final vote on all laws coming into effect. That's to include whether the country, district, state, county, or world, or country or world voting. He or she will also make final decisions on world laws being selected to be voted on for the greatness of the people with the 150 board members. There will be 4 different areas of voting within the world. You will have your county or district, which is local, for laws. Your state laws will be higher level, different voting, as well for your country and world laws for the people. You worry me there, Scott. You worried me there, Scott, for this being a communist-ran world order you have come up with. There's really nobody in charge of holding office for the world, but you say the people make it happen. Could you elaborate on this for me, please? Well, the people that speak up for what they want, for changes, new laws, desires, problems that they have to submit to the suggestion boxes in any of the post office is of ACE Services. The ACE Services will collect the boxes in every post office across the world for access of the people to submit any problem of any situation. I made it simple for all bills to become laws. It takes 1% of the population or county, state, country to submit the same action in pursuit of a new law, but will cap out at 1 million votes. Realize the post office, there will be like a small computer display set up that will load the credentials of the person by a chip that was assigned to them and for submitting the complaint or what they want to address to an ACE Services by typing it out or by voice recognition. It will then be able to print from the device in the post office to be signed and placed into the suggestion box for ACE Services to act on. Also realize once the person had addressed something to be considered for law, it will show up in the county, state, or country of the ACE Services site under the proposed laws for all to see. If someone wants to agree with what is addressed, they will be adding to the proposed order. Once 1% of the people of the proposed law or desired change for lifestyle to come forward, then will be 6 days or less where it is turned into what it will look like as an order or a law by ACE Services office. It will run for 30 days for the people to view when or if 10% of the people of the voting poll accepts yes and only yes to the order, which it's county, state, or country. It will then be presented as an order for law to be voted on for the next 30 days for the people to say yes or no to said bill. After 30 days, when the time is up for all to vote, it will then become law or thrown out. Remember, if people want to vote, they have the access to their phone on the ACE Service site. Not all people have to vote, only if they like. There will be an activation date placed on all the initial suggestions for proposed laws that is submitted and will only stay listed for 1 year on the site. This is for the people to act on, no matter how close it is to be considered to come forward as a law or order. When you're on the A-Service site, you will have a menu, access to different venues within the site. If you're in a proposed orders or law section, where it will show each person's order of suggestion from a list and will show a count of all the people from the county, state, country, or world as the number of people that had agreed with the order. It will show a count of the people that have agreed with the suggestion for law, and it will show a bare minimum of what count of votes are needed to advance the order. The laws will be decided by the people with easy accessibility. Dell Legendary, how will you manage this? You see, everyone is in a database with this decryption number addressed to them. This is for the security reasons, a number with it for personal identifications. There will only be one identification number to each person in the world. There will be an accessible site for all people to look up anything within the government as far as laws, rules, sites for voting that they can have access to, either a computer or a personal cell phone. All the people's medical, criminal, work info, income info, schooling, records, rations, records, all types of banks and credit abilities, an area within the chip. You will be able to list your utilities and payment accounts that you may have. This will also be accessible to your chip that is assigned, along with a genealogy record of all who are related to you by DNA in the world on this site. You will be able to add as many pictures and things that you would like for each of the relations in your family tree. This will include yourself for the individual to look up in the new world. Only changes to any records except your family tree, pictures, or private items that you list for each person's database can only be altered by the appropriate A-Services office. A-Services office will also attach as many as 7 credit cards or financial institutions to each person's personal identification number that they have for access to pull money from or to make charging purchases. Each person will have a record revolving their expenses as they live life. You can see any one of your financial accounts as a constant for your chip at any time. You're able to select a payment to come out of any of the financial accounts at time of payment if it has a credible balance to the transaction. Privacy of an individual's record will be only available to the individual, allowing it to be exposed. So there will be 8 areas within your chip that you will have access of your personal files. There will be hubs at said locations that are programmable to allow access to each one of the sites within your chip, depending if the medical, criminal, charge, schooling, work records, and login times of where you work, along with showing where you are at as far as what was paid for retirement as time goes on, and rations. Only people of the county for suggested bill of said county are able to vote. This includes whichever law at which time. Also, will also have GPS location in order to vote. This will show an individual's identification number of where whichever site which he or she would be logged into. So it only takes 66 days for a law to come into effect. With today's technology, elections can happen relatively quick. For world laws to come into effect, it would be 1 million people needed to be recognized for selecting such law to be voted on by the World Council held once a month. It may take up to 66 days to research the order that is being addressed by the people for the government to view. Representatives from the 150 countries then would vote on the order. If it passes the World Council, it then would be available for the people to vote on said law before it becomes official. It shouldn't take more than 90 days for a world order to come into play. Dale Legendary. That sounds incredible. I can see that working smoothly for the people.